And a good Friday morning to you. Lanny Ford along with you here on the bottom line. Glad to have you in. Kind of jam-packed here just a little bit for a Friday. Nick Stevens with highschoolot.com out of WRAL in Raleigh will join us. We'll continue the discussion. Things happening every day as far as the High School Athletic Association is concerned. He'll join us about 8:10. Down around the bottom of the hour, Greeny from Golf Shop Radio will join us, and we'll catch up with him. Now that we're back on Fridays, that day seems to work for him, so we're glad to get Greeny back into the picture as well. Hope you've had a good week, and a nice weekend is planned. I think it's going to be kind of a warm weekend. That's the way that it looks. Anyway, Richie, good morning. Glad to have you in with us this morning. Richie, I meant to ask you yesterday, is this the first year that Greenwood is doing the year-round school? I know it's been done in a couple different places. I was just curious if this was the first year that you've done it, if this is something you've done before. Some of the other things that are getting kind of interesting, the Big 12 is now meeting to discuss the possible departures of Oklahoma and Texas to the SEC. I think it's kind of like the hey, Sissy Bell, Cannon Page. I think it's a little bit like the High School Athletic Association. I think it's kind of a done deal. I think that Texas and Oklahoma are going to move. It just seems inevitable. But the Big 12 officials searched for answers for Oklahoma and Texas about their possible departures. The league made it clear on Thursday it expects its flagship programs to adhere to the conference bylaws and TV contracts that have been signed. Now, we all know the value and how good a contract is. They're made to be broken, it appears. The statement from the Big 12 said there is recognition that institutions may act in their own self-interest. However, there's an expectation that members adhere to conference bylaws and enforcement of grant of rights agreements. The Big 12 bylaws requires any withdrawing member to give the league at least 18 months' notice. There's also a hefty buyout fee. So we'll see what happens. I think, Milton, good morning. I said this yesterday. I don't see how the Big 12 can survive. That's the two premier programs inside of it. Now, there are some other schools that have made some headway, but that's still the premier. And I'll go back, like I said before, Texas and Oklahoma, I don't think, will be top dogs in the SEC. Now, I don't know what it gains them. Texas, if I'm not mistaken, has its own TV network, kind of like Notre Dame does. So why do they need the extra pull from the SEC? It's not a natural match. When all this acquisition and expansion went on, I didn't understand it. It was about dollars. It didn't make sense for the footprint. It didn't make sense for the institutions. It didn't make sense to go to these huge conferences where all the conference teams don't play each other. You took a lot of the meaning away from conference play. I just think it's sad all along. Dave Willis, good morning. I hate to see it happen that way. I really do. I got to admit, it bothers me that this has become the way things are. You don't see it as much with smaller schools. You do with some. The Sun Belt that Appalachian joined, when they first joined, you had the Sun Belt and you had Appalachian, and then you went as far west as Idaho and New Mexico, which didn't make any sense at all. First of all, Idaho and New Mexico are not in what's termed the Sun Belt, but it was about filling up teams before somebody else could gobble them up. Now, one of the things that may happen, and I've talked about this before, and I still think it's something, Bill Klein, good morning, I still think it's something that could happen, are mega conferences. You need about 4. You don't need over 8 to 10 schools in them, and then that would become. I think that the Big 12 drops out of being a power conference. I don't see how they can justify being a power conference. They're not going to have the schools that they need to stay in to be a power conference. So I'm not exactly sure how that's going to play out. It'll be interesting to see. I really thought that expansion, folks leaving and going other places, I really thought all of that was over with the last moves that were made. I know the ACC would like to force isn't the right word, but they would like to pressure Notre Dame into becoming a full conference member, and it would be good for the ACC. However, I've said it before, I think that Notre Dame fits much better inside the Big Ten. The footprint of it does. The rivalries do. Now, Notre Dame's always been independent, and I'm sure they would like to stay that way. They've got a big contract with NBC, but I'm sure they could work out something to where, if you join a conference, you're able to retain that portion of your income. That's not something that you have to share. TJ, good morning. Stephen, good morning. I don't know. That would be up. My daughter Camden says she's up in Virginia at her apartment, and Reese, our oldest golden doodle, is having a fit because she can hear me but can't find me. They've been gone this week back up to her apartment over summer. Reese will be fine. I promise. Reese will be fine. But, I don't want to continue to see this happen. And like I say, I've made it very clear, a conference should be something that's set up that in football everybody plays everybody. In basketball and baseball, those ought to be home and home series. You get away from that. Even in the ACC now, every team doesn't play every other team. I don't think. Now, I could be wrong. I don't know the details on it, but I don't think so. Kerry, good morning. Jeremy, good morning. Stephen said he'd love to see him join the ACC, and I guess he's talking about Notre Dame, and that may happen. I just don't know. I know that when the 12-team playoff comes into effect, and that's coming, you might as well get ready. They're going to have to join a conference somewhere, or they're not going to get that first week. They're not going to get that first week bye or that first round bye. So we'll just, we'll have to see how that plays out. Travis, good morning. Chuck, good morning. Richie says there are a couple of current ACC schools that fit better in the Big Ten. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, Louisville would be one of those. West Virginia would be a good pull from the Big 12 if they could pull them into the ACC. I think that would be a good one. Never thought that Syracuse really fit, or Boston College. Those are what I consider Big East teams more than anything else. So I never really understood that as well. Let me go ahead and click over. Our first guest has joined me now. He's Nick Stevens. Let's see if I can get him brought up here. I am all by myself this morning. Nick, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yep.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty well. Busy week this week.
It has been a very busy week, and I noticed there was some more kind of breaking news, I guess you would say, that happened overnight. You feel like this is kind of inevitable.
Well, I don't know that it's inevitable. I think that we're probably going to see some strong support of HB 91, particularly through the Republican-led Senate, Republican-led House. I don't know exactly how fast it'll go through those. I know that there's some things that they have to work on that don't involve the NCHSA, like the budget and redistricting and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure what that timeline will look like. I'm getting my days mixed up now. I believe it was Wednesday night. I talked to Senator Jay Shodery, who is a Democrat in Wake County. He is a Democratic whip in the Senate. And he basically said, and I'm paraphrasing, this isn't a direct quote, he said that there's bipartisan concern about some issues within the NCHSA, transparency. They'd like to know more about the wealth that the NCHSA has built up, that kind of stuff. But he said he thinks that the solution that has been proposed may not be so bipartisan. Mm-hmm. He said that in the hearing, he said that it feels like they're taking an axe to this when it could use a scalpel. And so, I don't know how it will play out in the end. Obviously, to get it signed into law, it's going to have to be Governor Cooper will have to sign it or veto it. And
that's a huge caveat right there. You said in the things that I have read this is kind of along party lines, and there's enough support probably in the legislature to get the bill passed, but it's still got to cross his desk, and it doesn't bother him to veto things. And then the next question was, can they garner enough bipartisan support to run it back through and get it approved? And I'm like you, and I mentioned this yesterday, and I'll ask your opinion, see what you think. Would it be possible, would a stopgap be, I don't think it has anything to do with gender or race against Q. I think it has been more of the way that Q has kind of pushed back on a lot of questions that have been asked. So would it be possible, would it slow this thing down if the High School Athletic Association said, look, we used to be part of the state system, we'll go back into the state system, we'll rehire. Q's retired before. We can put a new commissioner in place, maybe with some support, but not throw the baby out with the bathwater kind of thing. To me, that would be something that would be good, but I honestly don't see Q doing that or the association. I see them digging their heels in.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to speak for the association on what they might do or might not do in that scenario. But, Commissioner Tucker enjoys support right now from the board of directors, from the Athletic Directors Association, the Coaches Association. The NFHS put out a pretty strong letter that supports the NCHSA and Commissioner Tucker. I don't, at least I don't know this for sure, but my read on it is that we're not anywhere close to that happening. Okay. I think that the NCHSAA and the majority of the people who make up the NCHSAA are standing behind with what the NCHSAA does. That's not to say people don't have concerns, but I think that what we'll see, we're in the middle of, or the back end of doing an athletic director survey of athletic directors from across the state at NCHSA schools. And I actually have it pulled up on my other screen here right now. So we've had 230 people respond so far, and over 86% of them are against this bill. You can't get 86% of people to agree on anything right now. Mm-hmm. That's pretty uniform support, I think, to keep the NCHSAA. But I don't know what the NCHSAA may or may not do to try and curtail this. The way that this kind of came up out of nowhere, not many people that I know of knew this bill was coming until it got introduced as an amendment on Tuesday. I think that kind of caught some people on their heels a little bit. But I think that you're seeing kind of a unification of a lot of the people in the NCHSAA, not just the staff, but the member schools, in support of the association, at least as it stands in terms of this bill.
One of the things, and I was watching the Zoom conference that they called, I guess, Tuesday night maybe, mm-hmm. And just listening through that thing, I was a little surprised to hear Q say that they were kind of caught by surprise. There's been questions and there's been issues over the years that never really got addressed or never got to a conclusion. And I didn't. I think I saw the bill, the dismantling, as a surprise. But it was almost like, well, we didn't even know we had a problem. I didn't really get that vibe. It's been a lot of years since I've coached, and so I haven't been that involved on that side of it. But there have been issues and problems, and I know the Coaches Association came out in support. But I would be curious if you did an anonymous coaches to where nobody knew what they were voting, that support may get skewed a little bit more, because there are some coaches that have had problems and not got them fixed. I think it's I don't mean this derogatory. It's just a phrase and a saying. You feel better dancing with the devil you got than the one that you don't know, and that's kind of what happened. You know how the association works now. you don't know what, when you get political side of it into it, that could even make it worse. I've made the comment that I think we've got the pendulum way up here, and now we're going to go to middle, and then we're going to go up the other side, and we're not going to really be any better off, because some of the things I saw in the bill, I've always been a supporter that we need more than 4 classifications. We've got too many high schools and too much size differential. That still didn't change. It's almost like they took the same framework, but we're going to take over control, and we're not going to make money from it.
Yeah. So just to go back to your first comment, the athletic director survey that we did is anonymous, because we did that way because of the legislature has said that they're hearing that people are worried about retaliation or some sort of consequence for speaking out. My only thing with that is, I don't know if you're on Twitter on days where a charter school wins a state championship, or the day the brackets come out and teams are left out of the playoffs, or when COVID restrictions were announced. I haven't seen people hesitant to criticize the NCHSA publicly.
Right. No, you're right.
When that happens, so maybe there are people out there who fear that, but I don't think that's a universal feeling. In terms of the political appointees, I have heard that concern from a lot of people. Obviously,
I agree.
Politics right now are pretty divided and heated. And North Carolina is a state that, I guess you would call us a purple state, right? This last election, we elected a Democratic governor, and we voted for a Republican president in the same election. That's pretty rare. So I think that the concern is, well, right now, maybe you like the makeup of the state legislature, or maybe you like who's in the governor's mansion, but in 4 years, you might not. And there are some issues around high school sports where the two sides are on very, very different ends of the spectrum. Right now, nationally, a big issue is transgender participation in high school sports. There was a bill in the legislature that got tabled that would have banned that, or at least made that more difficult. I think that things like that are things that you could potentially see become hot button issues within high school sports when you have people running it that are political appointees. And a lot of coaches, a lot of athletic directors, superintendents that I have talked to, principals, their concern is, we don't want our kids in the middle of that. That's not what high school sports are supposed to be about. They're supposed to be about, building character and, learning life lessons and competing and having the opportunity to win a state championship. And so, that I hear the concern you just shared about, politics. I have heard that a lot the last few days. There's no doubt about that.
One of the things that you're more deeply involved because of where you're more centrally located to the NCHSAA, and you really concentrate on the high school side of things. I want to take the assets and the $41 million. I want to take that off the table. I have an issue with it, but that's not where my concern is. The concern that I have from the transparency standpoint that I did like about some of the things that were in that bill is everything becomes public record. If there's an appeal process, if there's a fine, if there's anything, that's one of the things I think that the association and here again, not direct contact with me, but that folks have had an issue with because they couldn't find out. But if that's an association that represents all of the schools, and my last one graduated, but as a parent, if I want to go look something up, I should have access to that because it affects everybody that's in to make sure we have fair play. Has that been an issue? Is that one of the real issues that they have?
Well, as a journalist, I am all for, more access to information. I won't turn down that. I think transparency is something that we've heard the legislators who've been involved in this talk about a lot. I've talked to the 3 legislators who are, I don't know if they're officially sponsors of this bill, but that have been really kind of pushing it. Senator Todd Johnson of Union County, Senator Vicky Sawyer of Iredell County, and Senator Tom McInnes Richmond County. I've spoken to each of them multiple times about their investigation, and I think that. I think each of them has a concern about transparency. I don't know specifically if there are specific instances. Obviously, I've had instances where I've reached out to the NCHSA to get some information, and they tell me that that's not information that they can share.
Right.
Technically, they're not a public entity; they're a private 501c3 nonprofit, so they're not subject to public records law. I this is just Nick Stevens' opinion here. This isn't my reporting. I think that, maybe it would be helpful to provide more of that information. If a team is declared ineligible for the playoffs, which is how this whole thing started.
Right.
If there are some sort of sanctions levied against a school, providing that information proactively might be helpful. Right now the schools the school districts have to release that information, and not many of them openly release it willingly. You have to find out about it, then you got to it's a process, and I think having information readily available helps assist people who maybe are not as involved in the weeds to understand what's going on. Like athletic directors and principals are pretty heavily involved in the day-to-day operations of high school athletics. An individual coach may not be. They may know what's going on with their sport, but there's a lot more that goes on in high school athletics than just one sport. Right now, I don't know what it's like in your neck of the woods, but out here in the Triangle, we have a growing population of coaches who aren't teachers. They're coming in from out of the school building.
That's happening.
And that's not a knock on them. There's some really great coaches who aren't teachers, but they're not around the school building all day. So they don't know all of the ins and outs of all of these things because they're just not around. So, I think that transparency helps with things like that. Whether or not this bill would address all of those transparency issues, I'm not 100% clear on. However, if it is part of the state government, then they are very clearly subject to public records law. And at least in that situation, the media, folks like myself, would be able to submit public records requests at a minimum to get information.
Well, and that's going back to the point that I was making. Whenever you take an organization that wants to put up a block, a wall, because, well, we don't have to, that's going to rub people the wrong way when you're dealing with, and this is the part that, well, first of all, let me say, when they moved it out of Chapel Hill and out of the university system was the first mistake. That should have never happened.
Well, and there's some reporting to do on that. There are indications, I'll say, that perhaps that was not the preference of the NCHSA at the time, that the UNC system preferred them to leave. That is something I think that needs some more reporting on, because the NCHSA was, I don't know if they were technically a member of the state government, but they were like a quasi-state government entity under the UNC system. If they didn't want to leave, if they thought that was not in their interest and they were forced to leave, and now here they are under fire because they left, that's, I think that would be relevant. So I think there's some work to do on that end. To figure out exactly what happened. That was over 10 years ago now, when that happened. I was around, but, it was different times back in 2010.
Right. But at the same time, they changed who they were as far as interfacing with people, because, and like I do, the first thing that you think, whether there's anything behind it, the first thing that you think as a reporter in the media, if I go after something and you tell me I can't have it, then there's something there you don't want me to see. And usually there is, but
that makes me want to find it more.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So I don't think they help themselves by doing that. And then the other point that I've always made, with the exception of 4 schools, which shouldn't be in the association, okay, and I'll just leave it at that, school systems that shouldn't be in the association, the monies that go to the association, the majority of it come out of taxpayers' dollars. So you can't close yourself off and say, well, I'm not going to talk to you, but I'm funding you. My dollars are funding you, and I think that's the other rub that has come.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting point, and I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know all of the ins and outs. I'm not smart enough to be a lawyer. But I have heard people make the point, okay, well, if we're going to say that those are taxpayer dollars, and this is just something I've heard people say, I'm not saying this is the right way to look at this. If a private company comes in and provides services to our athletic departments at a school, is that now taxpayer money? Is that company now subject to public records or any sort of, extra scrutiny? I don't know. Maybe they are. I have no idea. I think that's a fair question to ask, though. But even all of the laws and regulations and what should or shouldn't be, I think that this whole experience will probably have the association thinking, is it in our best interest to be more transparent, even if we don't have to be? I think that is, just talking to some of the senators who have been in the committees on the Democratic side, I think that their preference would be that they go down a road kind of like that. Can we work with the current setup to make some changes? Are there changes? Maybe it needs to be codified in law to some changes. Maybe there is a bill that was proposed. I think it was Senator Sawyer who proposed it to require them to go through a audit by the state auditor every year. I don't think there'd be much pushback on that even from the NCHSA.
Yeah, but they'll tell you they do their own audit, but I don't know who gets to see it.
Right. So, well, there are some that are publicly available now after this, but they do their own audit. A third party does an audit for them that they pay for. So I don't even think the NCHSA would push back on that. For example, maybe there needs to be some laws about transparency. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. But it sounds like, at least on one side of the aisle, the preference would be, let's try and work with the association, work with the current framework, change it, amend it, adjust it, however we need to do to address some of these concerns. And then, that seems to be the preference, rather than let's just axe the whole thing and try and start from scratch. It has taken 110 years roughly for the association to get to this point. So
you hate to see it get knocked off in 10 days, and that honestly could happen. So, Nick, I appreciate your time. Would love to have you on again sometime. I'll just leave it at this. I'm not in favor of just blowing it up, but it's going to take the association saying, yeah, you're right, we've made some mistakes, let's work together. But if we keep butting heads, it's not going to turn out good for anybody. And so I'm like you. I would like to see a compromise come through, and let's make some modifications, more transparency. Let's not put $40 million. I know it's not in the closet. Q said it's not in the closet, but let's not have $40 million sitting out there.
You put $40 million in my closet. I won't tell anybody.
I've got a 401k, and I'm pretty sure it's not in my closet, but I think I could get it in a week or two if I needed it. Nick Stevens, thank you, sir. We appreciate your time, and look forward to having you on again.
Thank you very much. Thanks,
buddy. Me. I appreciate it. We'll take a time out.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
Whether it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily, or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank. They want to get to know you by name. First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender. Times convenience stores are more than convenient. They're your neighborhood store, your store. With locations in Lincoln, Catawba, Gaston, Iredell, and Mecklenburg counties, there's one near you. Times convenience stores have the right items at the right price, from snacks, cold drinks, and light meals from the grill, and there's always a special to save you time and money. Times has what you need. Times convenience stores, there's one near you. Regardless of where you're going, there's one on your way. Remember, there's always time to stop by Times. Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home.
In the best of times, no one is more deserving of every opportunity, encouragement, and support than the youth in our communities. Parents, teachers, coaches, and sponsors struggle to stretch their budgets to continue help. Communities need a team effort. Times Oil Corporation, a longtime member of the community, established the Times Educational Alliance Mission, or Team Foundation. Since 2011, over $125,000 in grants have been donated in the community. Times Oil and the Team Foundation are proud to be community partners.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with Auto Owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver, or visit mooneyinsurance.com. Stifel Nicholas now has an office in your community. Stifel Nicholas is a full-service organization offering a wide range of investment vehicles and services. These include money market funds, CDs, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, annuities, retirement plans, and managed accounts, to name a few. Our financial advisors will sit down with you and help you tailor an investment plan, explaining strategies and investments which may help you achieve your personal goals. Call 4Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stifel Nicholas, member SIPC, and the New York Stock Exchange. And welcome back. Glad to have you back here on the bottom line. We'll head to our phone lines, bring our next guest on. He used to join us on a regular basis on Friday, and I got lazy. Now that I'm back, he's back too. Greeny from Golf Shop Radio. Good morning to you, sir.
Hey, the band's back together. Good morning.
We are. I'll get your take before we move on to some other things with the ongoing saga with the North Carolina High School Athletic Association. Any thoughts?
Oh, I think everybody in North Carolina still lost their mind. You know, it makes no sense. I mean, you know, we've got people talking about, you used to have, a 2.0 to participate in extracurricular activities. Now it doesn't matter. So you can just, maybe show up. I guess you've got like 6 months to turn in a homework assignment and still get a 90. So none of it makes any sense. And, my kid starts kindergarten this year, and he's going to a charter school. So they kind of make their own rules and have their own board. So I don't have to worry about some of that stuff anyway. But, yeah, it's just again, making no sense. We've all lost our minds, man.
Yeah.
It's just the craziest thing. The people making these decisions, I don't know. I'm assuming they feel like they're trying to help everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, in the long run, it's just really hurting everybody.
Well, I hate to say this, and I think you'll agree with this. When you talk about politics, usually they're just trying to help the politician. It doesn't go much deeper than that.
Right. Well, you're trying to make some people look good, and other people look bad.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think it's just going to end up hurting people in the long run because we are teaching our kids to not have a sense of responsibility for their actions.
Yeah. No, I agree. Let me jump to a couple of topics, just get your opinion on a few things. How did you think the Open played out? The only thing that disappointed me, there wasn't enough weather for the Open.
Yeah, I mean, that's, we talk about the USGA all the time, and they set up they try and set up a golf course for those ideal conditions for that course, whether it's, having 2 weeks of no rain and having a little bit of breeze blowing or whatever happening. And then, it seems like nine times out of 10 or 19 times out of 20, they don't get the conditions they're looking for and something happens. It either goes over the edge or it's way under the edge. At the Open Championship, I mean, that golf course is 100% dictated by the wind.
Right.
And, you saw a little bit of it, like Thursday, where the guys in the morning kind of got to post some scores and none of the guys in the afternoon could really get up on that leaderboard. And then what you saw is you flipped the script on Friday and you were kind of thinking maybe the same thing would happen, but the wind kind of laid down for both sessions. So you saw the guys go out early and run up the leaderboard, and then you saw the guys that ran up the leaderboard the first day continue to run up the leaderboard the second day. So a definite couple shot advantage probably for the guys that went out first thing on Thursday. But yeah, I'm with you. I wanted to see 25 mile an hour sustained winds over the weekend, and the wind got less and less over the weekend. And I went back and looked at it, Laney. On that golf course, I think the scores, the last 5 Open Championships went from like +2 to -13, and -13 was Greg Norman, and there wasn't any wind. Now, it was firm and fast for Greg Norman, but that wasn't a big deal for him because he was, at that time, he was the best driver of the golf ball. He hit more fairways than anybody, which meant he probably hit more greens than anybody, and he hit it higher than anybody else did. So it made total sense that 13 under was going to win that. And when I saw the weather forecast coming in, I'm like, Greg Norman's 13 under's in trouble. So it was fun to watch because you still had that penalty when guys hit it offline. But there was plenty of opportunities to make up. So I mean, if you took your chances now and again with a driver and didn't connect with it, you at least had the opportunity to get it down there, get it on the green, and maybe make a putt. But then you had plenty of chances to make birdies to make up for it. So it was fun to watch from that standpoint, that there was lots of birdies and the potential to make bogey or double bogey, but it just wasn't a traditional Open Championship we all love to see.
Yeah, the Open with no rain, no wind, and low 80 temperatures is not the Open that you want to see. I'll put it that way. One of the questions that came out, and I listen to the talking heads all the time on sports programming, and you're more closely involved with the sport. Why are we not hearing anything about Tiger?
Well, because Tiger keeps it close to the vest. And, I mean, everybody knows that Ricky Fowler lives next door to him, so they're always asking Ricky. And, Ricky kind of made the comment that, he's, as far as I know, he's just spending most of his time rehabbing. I mean, that's just what Tiger does. Tiger keeps everything to himself. I mean, obviously, if he's rehabbing, he's probably having somebody come to him. So it's not like he's going somewhere to rehab, so you're not going to get video or photos of Tiger doing rehab. So that's kind of the deal, is that these injuries, I think, were so bad that he hasn't really been out that much, so we haven't seen him. And I think it's going to be a long process for him, but it sounds just like from what Ricky said that, he spends his entire day rehabbing, and that totally sounds like Tiger, is that we're not going to probably the first time that we see Tiger really come out without any kind of aid to help him walking, we're probably going to see him hit a golf shot, which wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to get.
Are there some young guns? We're talking with Greeny from Golf Shop Radio. You can catch it on ESPN 7:30 every Saturday, 8 to 10. Do we have some young guns like Moriarty, DeChambeau? Do we have some personality golfers that are going to be able to come out and kind of rise to the top and get over the lull? Because Tiger has been PGA golf for so many years, there's not been anything else.
Well, what you're going to get is you're going to get a bunch of guys that are going to win here and there. Now, and we've already seen it. I mean, we've seen Jordan Spieth have, those two and a half, maybe 3 years where he won 4 major championships. It seemed like he was in contention every week, and then kind of off the radar. You saw Brooks Koepka win 4 major championships in a very short period of time. Now, in all honesty, I think Jon Rahm, had it not been for childbirth right before the Masters and him not showing up to the Masters until like Wednesday of that week, I think Jon Rahm was going to win the Masters. He showed us what he can do despite COVID ruining a 6-shot lead at the Memorial, coming back 2 weeks later and winning the U.S. Open.
Yep.
We saw him right up at the top of the leaderboard again at the Open Championship. We've seen him, and I think this is what we're going to see, is we're going to see a stretch where we have maybe some guys doing some dominance. I mean, now you've got Colin Morikawa winning the PGA, pushed back last year, and then coming back and winning the Open Championship this year. So, again, I think when you look at the major championships next year, I mean, realistically, you have to, like I've already said, like my way too early predictions. I've got Brooks Koepka winning the Masters. I've got Jon Rahm repeating at the U.S. Open. I've got Morikawa coming back and winning the PGA Championship. And because it's at St. Andrews, and John Daly has done the let it fly at St. Andrews and won before, I don't see any reason why this isn't one of the golf courses that Bryson DeChambeau can put that into play. So there's your 4 guys that you're talking about.
Yeah, and the PGA needs that, because it had gotten to the point to where everybody that watched golf, the casual fan, if Tiger was not there for Saturday and Sunday in contention, they lost a lot of eyeballs.
Well, yeah, and I think the fans right now are craving. It doesn't matter if it's, it could have been this week at the 3M Open, despite the fact that they're not playing, but it doesn't matter if it's the worst ranked tournament on the PGA Tour or major championship. We, the fans, cannot wait for somehow, some way, Bryson and Brooks get in the same group.
Yeah,
and
be paired.
I don't know who's going to suck it up and do it, in the first 2 rounds. But here you could get it at the WGC and the FedEx St. Jude, because that's the next time they're both going to play. And then after that, you've got 3 playoff events, and I don't know where they're ranked. Let's see, if they're ranked close enough, they'd have to be ranked right next to each other in the rankings to play together. So that's like the complete toss-up. Like, how can something like that happen? But then again, you've got, so you've got essentially the potential for having 12 rounds in the playoffs where they theoretically could be paired together. I mean, DeChambeau's 6th right now, and Koepka's 12th. So they're not going to be initially, in the first playoff event, they wouldn't be in the same unless something happens in that WGC event. But I think we're all craving that, and we want to see that. And then who's the third member of that group? Is the third member of that group able to survive, being in that group with the 2 of them, or is it just status quo?
Is it real or is it show?
I think it's real. And I think that I think Bryson didn't think it was a big thing until recently, when Brooks really started hammering on him, and Brooks basically said, this is why it happened. We had an agreement. He backed out of it. And Brooks kind of, I don't know what agreement he's talking about. So that tells you that Bryson screwed up, and now he's trying to backpedal his way out of it a little bit. That's what it says to me.
One final question before I let you go. I thought that, college conference realignment and all that mess was over, and now it looks like Oklahoma and Texas are going to make a move to the SEC. If that happens, I think the Big 12 kind of goes away, because I think you'll have some other teams, maybe a West Virginia moves into the ACC, maybe Oklahoma State moves into the Pac-12. But the one thing, if Texas and Oklahoma move out, I don't see how you could justify the Big 12 as a power conference anymore. I think you're down to 4.
Yeah, well, and I said years ago that I felt like that we needed 4 16-team conferences.
Yep.
And, you know, in all honesty, what you end up doing is you end up, for me, I think you turned it into some kind of NFL where, you know, you have a 16-team conference. You break it up into 4 divisions.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you're going to play each of your division opponents once, and then you figure out some rotation of, you know, what? I mean, at this point, there's no fluff games anymore, right?
Right.
I mean, there's no Clemson playing Wofford, you know,
right.
And you look at it from the perspective of, okay, Clemson and South Carolina are rivalries. They end up in the same division, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what you do. Texas and Texas A&M end up in the same division. Auburn and Alabama, Mississippi and Mississippi State.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Florida and Florida State. And then, you know, they end up playing Miami, the 2 of them. You're going to have to look at it from that perspective. Keep your rivalry games so you don't have these, you know, well, we're going to play our 8 conference scheduled games. We're going to play our, you know, Clemson's going to play South Carolina, and then we're going to go get Wofford and little Susie's, you know, daycare and play them. So now you're just going to have to say, look, we're going to have, and then you can figure out a structure. So now you're going to have 4 division winners that can go play a semifinal and a final. You could make those your bowl games, and then the 4 teams that come out of that go into the national semifinal, and they play the semifinal and the championship game, and everybody's happy. You populate all these bowl games with really good teams, and you just kind of go from there. And you know, I don't know what, and you might just say this is college football. Has nothing to do with conference realignment for basketball, for softball, for golf, or whatever it is. You just let football go do its own thing because they're making, you know, money hand over fist compared to everybody else.
Well, and that's the big thing. That's where a lot of that is coming from, and it's all driven by the money. We all know that. That's what makes everything go around and round when it comes to sports. Greeny, great to have you back on. Have a wonderful day. What you got on the show tomorrow?
I have absolutely no idea. I just pulled up the schedule, and it's not populated at all, so I have no idea what Collins has for us tomorrow. So okay. I guess I'll find out later today.
I guess so. Hard to promote it when you don't know. Have a good one, my friend. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks, Lanny.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. That's Greeny from Golf Shop Radio. That's a bad sign when you don't know what you got going on. Take a final break. We'll come back and look at on this day in sports history before we wrap it up here on a Friday.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
Whether it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily, or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank. They want to get to know you by name. First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Times convenience stores are more than convenient. They're your neighborhood store, your store. With locations in Lincoln, Catawba, Gaston, Iredell, and Mecklenburg counties, there's one near you. Times convenience stores have the right items at the right price, from snacks, cold drinks, and light meals from the grill, and there's always a special to save you time and money. Times has what you need. Times convenience stores, there's one near you. Regardless of where you're going, there's one on your way. Remember, there's always time to stop by Times. Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home.
In the best of times, no one is more deserving of every opportunity, encouragement, and support than the youth in our communities. Parents, teachers, coaches, and sponsors struggle to stretch their budgets to continue help. Communities need a team effort. Times Oil Corporation, a longtime member of the community, established the Times Educational Alliance Mission, or Team Foundation. Since 2011, over $125,000 in grants have been donated in the community. Times Oil and the Team Foundation are proud to be community partners.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with auto owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver, or visit mooneyinsurance.com. Stifel Nicholas now has an office in your community. Stifel Nicholas is a full-service organization offering a wide range of investment vehicles and services. These include money market funds, CDs, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, annuities, retirement plans, and managed accounts, to name a few. Our financial advisors will sit down with you and help you tailor an investment plan, explaining strategies and investments which may help you achieve your personal goals. Call 4 Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stifel Nicholas, member SIPC, and the New York Stock Exchange. And welcome back. Winding up here on a Friday morning. Tommy Dalton, good morning. Wayne Ward, Kenny Weaver, Darby, Eddie Andrews, good morning. Eddie's a huge Clemson fan now, in case somebody needed to know that. He's a huge Clemson fan. Let's take a look at some things on this day in sports history. The first one, and this is something kind of a negative thing, but back in 1993, James Jordan, the father of NBA star Michael Jordan, was found dead near McCall, South Carolina. A lot of folks seem to think that that was when Michael kind of spiraled a little bit after he lost his dad. They were very close, and a lot of folks think that had a huge psychological effect on Michael, which I would anticipate that it would. Let me give you a couple others. How about in 1827, the first U.S. swimming school opened in Boston, Massachusetts. The Cincinnati Red Stockings, or the Cincinnati Baseball Club, forms in 1866. Lou Gehrig hit his first of 23 career Grand Slams on this day in 1925. That's a long time ago, just in case you're keeping score there. Of course, a lot of All-Star news. I won't go into all of those. Reggie Jackson in 1976 homers in his 6th straight game for the Baltimore Orioles. For some reason, I don't remember the Orioles. Steve Carlton with the Phillies, 1978, became the 78th pitcher to win 200 games. In 1979, George Brett gets his 1,000th hit in baseball. And Greeny talked about it a little bit. Mark Calcavecchia won the 89 British Open over Greg Norman and Wayne Grady. Don Mattingly on this day in 1994 becomes the 6th Yankee to get 2,000 hits. Baseball had its longest rain delay in 1994, 3 hours, 39 minutes, as the Giants beat the Mets in New York City. John Daly won his 2nd major title in the British Open at St. Andrews in 1995. Tiger Woods beat Thomas Bourne and Ernie Els in the 2000 British Open at Royal Latham and St. Anne's. In the year 2000, the 87th Tour de France was declared a no-winner because Lance Armstrong was disqualified. Is that really right? 21 years ago? Wow. I cannot believe it's been that long ago. And then in 2019, Nike's Jordan brand signed number 1 draft pick Zion Williamson to the richest multi-year sponsorship deal for a rookie in history. History. Never played the first minute of NBA basketball, and he got a $75 million 7-year deal with Jordan Brands. Wow. Some birthdays for today. Harold Pee Wee Reese was born on this day in 1918, 10-time All-Star in baseball. Let's see. Don Drysdale was born on this day in 1936 in Van Nuys, California. Anything else comes up here quickly as I'm winding through? I don't have my man Juju here with me. Eldon Campbell was born on this day in 1968. Gary Payton, American basketball guard, was born on this day in 68. I don't think I see any more. Just kind of scrolling through, finishing it up. Don't forget the boys will be in here in the morning at 8 o'clock, 8 to 10 for the Saturday edition of Sports Talk, guys. Hope you have a wonderful week. We'll be here next week, our final full week of July. A week from Monday, high school football starts. You don't want to miss that. It's just around the corner. Maybe we'll get something back kind of normal. Have a great weekend. I'll see you next week right here on The Bottom Line. Have a good one.